I've seen and experienced a lot over the last 7 decades in my career. I've met many interesting people, performed over 25,000 shows, and yes, even tuned in on the thoughts in the minds of over 1 million. But then, who's counting? Now, I'm telling you what really happened. Welcome to Kreskin's Amazing Experiences. This is Kreskin, and I'm welcoming you to another episode of Kreskin's Amazing Experiences. You know, being 87 years old and working full-time, I've had a raft of incidents through my career that almost read like science fiction. A movie could be made and may be made on some of them. But I want to share with you something that I know you've wondered about. There's no doubt on my mind if you've seen me work on television or in person, and that is my background in the area of gambling. Now, I am not welcomed at gambling casinos today. I'm welcomed as a performer. They've been very kind and generous with me and so forth. As far as my going to a table and sitting down and playing, I would like to tell you that I'm the last person they'd like to see do such a thing. However, I want to share with you an anecdote that I used to love to sit and play blackjack. I'd come into casinos and they wouldn't say anything, and sometimes I'd have a winning streak and what have you. Because, you know, the game of blackjack, and what I'm going to describe to you is going to seem to move very fast, because by the time I was playing blackjack in my 20s and so forth, late teens, 20s, and what have you, I played a game in such a way that I almost wasn't paying attention. I'd be talking to the pitman, and we'd be interchanging back and forth. He would say, "Kreskin, your absorption of this game is unbelievable, because you just glance down." Because when the hand is played and the dealer puts my hand and his hand, if there's other players, I'll just glance down and go right on talking to him. That's all I need to do. Because I know the game and knew it so well that I was considered one of the experts of the game. One gentleman who wrote a book on the gaming industry wrote in the final chapter of the book how he didn't know me at the time, but early in my career he used to stand behind me and watch me play blackjack, because he said he almost didn't pay attention to the game. He was too interested in the people around him and what have you. You see, the key to the game of blackjack is you learn the odds. You learn the odds of what a chance is of your getting a certain card, the right card to your 7 or 8, because of course you're trying to make closer to 21 and what have you. But also, in order to do this, you know the odds, but you have to know the cards that went out. And very few people would remember all the cards that went out. But I can memorize a shuffle deck of cards in less than 1 minute. I don't do that in a blackjack game because it takes time for the cards to be dealt. But they knew that I was seeing every card coming out and knew the odds of playing certain hands, so that if I should hit on a hand like that, if I were taking a risk, and it was a great risk, I wouldn't hit. I wouldn't ask for a card to be thrown. Let the dealer run the risk of busting on a hand. Well, let me tell you about this experience at the casino. And the casino was Resorts International in Atlantic City, and it was 2003. By then, I'd become so well known that they knew from watching television and what have you, I was not the most desirable person they wanted attending the game. But I said to them one night, because I knew the pitman from other times when I used to play, I used to say, I would say to him, you know, I'd love to play the game. I could play for a maximum amount, no more than $25 or maybe $35. They say, okay, Kreskin, sit down and let's see what happens. And I started playing. And I'm talking to the dealer about movies he's seen, programs and things he saw me do on television. And when the cards came time for them to deal the card, I would just glance down and go on. He'd go like this. He'd say, I can't even believe that you know what we put down, but we know that that's all. That you wouldn't be looking like that if it wasn't important that you saw the cards that were thrown down. And then I noticed, it was later in the evening, and usually a room is filled, especially on a weekend, and I think it may have been on Friday, but filled at a time like that, and it got very quiet. I thought, what's going on? Well, let me tell you what I discovered. I look around. Oh, the people were there, but very few of them were playing blackjack. They were all standing around my table watching the game, totally intrigued. I didn't even know because you could hear a pin drop. They didn't want to distract me or anything else, and they're watching the game. Well, the deck ran out. All three hands, or how many were used in a deck, gone out, and they said, Kreskin, we'll pay you now. I said, no. You don't do that. I have the philosophy that you learn in any gambling situation. You're winning. You win until you show signs that you're losing. Just shuffle the deck and let's continue. And they did, and we continued. And when the game was over and I finally lost one hand, my first hand since I sat down, they said, Kreskin, we'll have one of the dealers go with you, or one of the people working here, go to your car. I said, no, I feel I'm going to be fairly safe. You know, I'd only won a couple of $1,000 because I wasn't playing the way I normally would, because there were some hands I would have been playing at that point, 10,000 to a hand. They said, well, that's fine. And I went to my car and drove home, refreshed that I had won. The next day, I'm not working that day. I'm relaxing in the afternoon, and I'm reading some textbooks or what have you because I'm an avid reader. And the phone rings. I was living home with my folks. My mother comes to me and says, there is a call. They said, there's a call from Resorts International. Weren't you there last night? I said, yeah. I wonder what's going on. I got up, went to the phone. It turns out it's someone I did not know at the casino. He was part of the public relations firm that handled Resorts International. And the gentleman said, Kreskin, we understand you had quite a streak last night. I said, oh, yeah. I would have liked to have played what I normally would play, but I limited my amount, as you probably were told. And they said, well, that's what we want to talk to you about. The casino wants you to know, Kreskin, that any time you wish to come to the casino, you walk right in, playing under the same conditions, the same amounts of money, and you're welcome anytime you wish. We cannot believe the amount of publicity we got. And there was no reporters there, but it got to every casino in Atlantic City. It's gotten to writers that are calling and say, Kreskin played there, how much did he win, and so forth. It isn't that. But what was interesting is that I played until I lost a hand. And they said, you know, Kreskin, it's quite a story, because without breaking, you won 22 hands in a row. They said, Kreskin, this is unbelievable. This rare, something like this doesn't even happen this way. 22 hands in a row. And they said to me, of course, you know the story behind this? I said, no, I don't know. There's more to this? I said, no, I didn't stay after that. I'd had dinner at the casino before. They said, no, 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 no. Don't you know the fact about that winning? I said, what do you mean? This, by the way, folks, was in 2003. They said, you broke a record. I said, what do you mean? It's 2003 now. In 1997, at Resorts International, a poor person won 18 hands in a row, and you broke that person's record. Oh, by the way, you are the person. You broke your own record this many years later, and we want to welcome you back any time you wish.